They don't use the Sambucus diagram. They use the Sambucus cerulea, which
That's
is a
their
blue
elderberry?
Sambucus,
Yeah.
to make their pies from over there. But that's all right. Don't get Hobbs in.
Hi.
That's a cute hat.
Thank you. I knew you'd like it.
Where did you get that?
I got it at Hermosa Beach, where all the cowboys roam.
Yeah.
You want a hay straw?
Yep, put me to work, baby. Just tell me what you need. Yep, I got shovels. I'm ready for anything.
Hell, you can plant some marijuana crops here, right, Hobbs?
That's right.
Get a little
And
income supplementation going?
And some bullshit. You gotta plant some
cut out
bullshit.
all this stuff for these insurance people,
Oh, for the fire abatement?
the fire people.
Yeah. Wow. Erv, where is an outlet? An electrical outlet?
And we don't mean like a creative outlet.
No.
Well, here, try the nostrils. That's, oh, boy. I'm just sort of water anti-emission by grape parch.
It's from 1962. I just found it. I went to that event when I was living in San Francisco.
Where was this? Studebaker Theater, March 1962.
Yeah.
That was before I actually met him.
Well, that's how I found
Erv likes it
out
like
about
this.
you, by meeting him.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
Hang on to
I,
it.
yeah, I like this picture of him surrounded by his instruments.
Everybody like that. Scott makes these things now. So I'm the next door. He's up in Mount Point Roberts, up past Seattle.
Oh,
This little point, the reason it's called Point Roberts is because there's quite a large inland lake there, or inland ocean there, and to get there you have to go into Canada and then cut down. And the way they cut the boundaries of the United States and Canada, they just cut a line straight across, and it just so happened that right out on a little point that just holds a few thousand people, that is sticking like a little peninsula out into the lake there, and you have to go into Canada to get back onto the point, and then you have to exit. Okay, and then you're back to the U.S. again.
I can get it to the porch here.
I use the word loom here, which
Let me get these tapes ready. Wilson 1, Wilson 2.
I'm amazed I didn't
So they won't need to
use
just
the word plethora anymore.
Yeah.
I usually try to put the word plethora somewhere in everything I write.
Sort of like
and then of course, called they just innocently, and they're just a throwaway word.
a throwaway word?
Just a throwaway word.
Yeah.
Just as.
Even got religious here. He said, "Good heavens."
Where?
My heavens.
My heavens. As opposed to your heavens.
Well, at least it's plural.
Yes.
There's a whole clique of us don't mind using the word gods.
Yeah, gods. With a Z on the end.
Yes. And a small G.
There are gods everywhere. Who knows that stone down there doesn't have an intrinsic flicker of consciousness in it?
You won't get an argument from me.
I haven't had my coffee yet.
Oh,
Boil
dear.
it up,
Huh?
bro.
Fire it up,
man.
man.
We're here all day.
The reason I showed you this
Boil it up.
letter is that this way of thinking, which was very poetic, would be really good for much of what we're going to do today. So that someone who knows nothing about you would get some kind of a feeling for what you say.
Oh, all right.
If you insist.
I'll say everything in haiku.
There you go.
There you go.
Remember,
Every day before I even get out, I write a haiku. I'm not joking.
do you really?
I've been doing that lately. Just taking things that pop out of my mouth
So you've got a pretty good collection of them
and
by now.
write them down and see, can I transform this into a haiku? And amazingly, all I have to do, once I get the ideas down on paper, I can juggle them just a little bit, insert a couple of syllables here or reverb it, and I've got a very, very workable haiku using ordinary, overworked English.
That's what we want. Ordinary, overworked English.
Yeah.
But if you are an actor, you will sit and listen to what other people are saying and how they're saying it. Good actors do that all the time.
Yeah, the cadence.
And it's just astonishing when you just listen to what they say and how they say it. What is going on out there in the real world? You have acting that surpasses any Academy artist. Right down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard there was a kid from Argentina. Lived down there for a while, and his buddies would come up and visit him for, and his younger brother and so forth. And I couldn't help hearing them talk. And I realized that aside from the words, they were saying the most extraordinary things, like the younger brother was saying to the older brother. And I won't try to explain why I wrote it. And don't try to understand it.
Okay.
You'll get the drift. Timothy McVeigh, flawed godling, resurrected. Quickly accepted by United States Marines, rose up through the ranks, battleships and armored tanks. He commanded them. Awarded the Silver Star, posthumously pinned. His blood spilled by friendly fire, screaming in the wind.
I have absolutely nothing to say about that. What can you add? Wow.
for children.
I see. It's a bedtime story. A bedtime story?
Not for children. No. But I have some. Let's see. I've got some lines I haven't used yet. But here, I think I've got one. Oh, I finally came around to this, and parts of it are quite good, but parts of it are not quite continuous. In my imagination, you are loving me, but in the real world, it could have ended right there.
Yes.
But in the real world, you're loving your woman. She carries your child. His name is Green Corn Dancer from Oaxaca. His eyes are like the jaguar. His penis is green. Now this was just, okay. There are rattlesnakes in Colonia Pacheco. They shake their rattles. They too have the right to live. We do not kill them. Add chuchupat and chotapins and rattlesnake meat to a bottle of Sotol.
Can I get a repeat performance of that one?
Yeah, once we got the light looks good.
Add chuchupate and chotapins and chotapines, okay? And rattlesnake meat to a bottle of Sotol. That's 5557. I've taken license with that.
You know, you're using 5s and 7s.
But over here, Ryan McCartney, you need a host of angels guarding over you and a second watchdog host for backup duty.
Hey, can I wire you?
Wire me?
This is a microphone. That I want to
I'm already wired. Over there. Over there somewhere.
Oh yeah, here.
There's a fire going on right down there. Over there. You know, come up there. And sometimes it's just the newspaper. But just, when people were out from Ohio visiting, Bruce, Dee Dee's father, who lived over there, she's a ballerina and an actor, and she's she does artwork and does some acting. And her father came out to visit, and there was a big bunch of helicopters over there just going round and round and round, and he just was quite upset. What's going on? And I said, well, there's a police station right down there, and there's a university over there having a big ball game, and then there's a high school over there where they're probably having a political activities going on. Bruce was getting more and more consternated. With all of this air activity here out there in Iowa, you don't see helicopters overhead all the time.
No.
But I have seen some very, very strange things too.
Such as
Coming over there, I have a perfect view of the traffic patterns. And when the traffic patterns change, then I can't help noticing if all of a sudden there's an influx of transport planes that go out that one right after another, after troop transport planes. Edwards Air Force. think no, I bother to mention it. I'd hate to flatten anybody. I usually try to calm them down a little bit. And even I take it as my daily duty to spread a little bit of sunshine somewhere, whether they want it or not.
Well, it's infectious.
I just go out and spread a little bit of sunshine. So they're well there now. I've done that, and I can go back to being grouchy.
Yeah, okay, Gary, whenever you're ready.
I can go back to suffering. Are we doing things now?
Yeah, we're going to start.
Well, actually, we
Just go
already
ahead and make
started
a clap.
a long time ago.
Oh, I see.
Are you recording, Mark?
Yep. Clap it.
Clap it again. Wilson won.
Wilson won.
That was good.
Isn't that cool? It's for people who can't play spoons. But always wish they could.
What is it supposed to be? A musical instrument?
Yeah.
Spud Murphy died.
Yeah, he did. I found that out yesterday.
Did you see the photograph in the newspaper? It had all of his people and stuff standing around him. He was by a keyboard and was talking animatedly about it. And Chuck Johnke was there. I'd seen the same picture before in the LA Times, where it was just about Spud Murphy, but Chuck Johnke was in the picture, and I commented on it. I didn't call Chuck yesterday to tell him that I'd seen him in the obituary section.
Spud Murphy, remember I used to study with him a long time ago.
And Chuck Johnke did as well, that's why.
And
I know.
Spud had hopes that I guess Chuck and I could bring what you do and what he did together. I never could find a way.
The only way I could bring them together is if I started charging the same that he does. And what was it, $7.50 for 2 hours?
Was it?
And so I've decided from now on I'm going to charge $8.50 for 2 hours. No, I'm just joking. I would rather not charge anything for 2 hours.
Tell us a little bit about when you were growing up, what your life was like.
I was born in 1928.
It's okay.
Okay. I was born in 1928, June the 11th, 1928, in the Colonia Pacheco, Chihuahua, Mexico. And I was actually born in a covered wagon.
I didn't know that.
It was the Mormon type covered wagon. My parents had come down from Salt Lake City in that wagon, and they traveled circuitously until they could finally get across the Colorado River. They found a ferry that would bring them across, and we pretty well demarked the trail, and they got down there. My father got up to that little valley, and it was just that time of the year when everything was green, 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 and the poor man thought that he had died and gone to heaven. But on top of that, so we settled on a little piece of ground there, and that's where I was born. But the reason why we settled, first of all, the Exodus, all of the people had left there because Pancho Villa had been wandering around, creating a ruckus, and the early Mormons had to just leave. They didn't have any, we were among the very first returns, so there was wide open land, and we took the spot, a spot that hadn't been settled by anybody. The beauty of it was that it had a ditch, a place where a ditch could come out of the river and bring running water to us. And my father repaired the ditch, and we had running water. We had a big water wheel. We could do all kinds of things with that water wheel. But shortly after, my parents just camped out there on the place, still in the covered wagon, until after I was born. And then,
How many children were there?
I was the second child, and the first child was named Lyman, and he was there at the time. And so my parents decided, well, it's time to build a house. We got another baby. After Lyman was born, nobody came very along for 4 years, and finally my mother went down to President to I'm not sure, but he was a polygamist official. He was a polygamist, but he had held a high place in the church down in Corona du Blanc, and he gave her a blessing. He blessed her and promised her that she would have a baby.
And that was you?
And catch this, a child of promise. And sure enough, she got pregnant and had me.
There's a 5-syllable beginning of a new haiku, a child of promise.
There you go.
But that gives you the expectations there of me to be at the very beginning.
How many children did they have altogether?
10.
10.
No. Right at the last reading, the direct descendants of my father and my mother exceed 200 and going.
Oh my God.
Direct descendants.
Direct descendants. 200 and more being born every day. No attempt whatsoever on anybody's part to control the inevitable Fibonacci series. But they just think it's ridiculous. The Lord will provide. He takes care of the smallest sparrow. What the heck? At any rate, my earliest memories are of being actually in the house. I don't remember being in the camp wagon. That's just a literary. But in the house, I remember the first thing I remember was actually, believe it or not, nursing for my mother. Which means I can remember pretty far back. And
Less than 1 year old?
when she had me laying on her arm like this, and it was uncomfortable when I lay there, and I don't know, it was just, I remember it was somewhat uncomfortable lying on her arm. But then, for some reason, that memory is still embedded there. The first memory I recall of sounds was the sounds of the wind howling through the adobe cracks and making this incredibly beautiful music. When the cracks are still there and the wind still howls through them, and it still makes this beautiful music. This wavers and wails and moves so organically. And that sound, more than any, has haunted me all my life. And then we would get the sounds of the Mexicans singing, late at night, riding their donkeys or their burros, or just walking back and forth. Late at night, just drunk as skunks, singing to the tops of their voices these beautiful, beautiful Mexican melodies. I remember particularly Marcus Escalante. He would ride down by the river there. We lived by a river. And next to the river is we're on an east side hill, overlooking some flats by where the water, where the riverbed had gone and left, nevertheless, rich, loamy fields out there. And down somewhat a ways were limestone outcroppings we call the ledges, and there were signs of Indian activities in the caves and the ledges, little sort of places where they could grind the acorns or whatever they're grinding, little holes, pestles in the rocks, and you could see where they built fires there. And then on top there was a story that the Indians used to gather there. But the top of that hill was important to us because the early Mormon prophets and mission and elders of the Mormon Church had gone to that hill, and right under a gigantic oak tree there, they had prophesied that someday the words of the Lord would spread from that point. And I don't know if they ever specifically said that a temple would be built there, but we took that, and I think it pretty well indicated that a very, very large temple would be built at that site. And we were eastward across the river with a full-on view of where the temple would be. That's why, another reason why my father settled at that spot. And all of our lives we were allowed to believe that someday a temple would in fact be built there. But later on, still when I was very young, but I recall it happening, my father went down there, but they built a nice monument at the spot, and my father cast a bronze plaque. Went around and gathered all the bronze that anybody had, melted it down, just old pieces of car or something, anywhere you could get bronze, melted it down, and had enough to make a plaque stating exactly who prophesied what, when, and where in the days, and embedded the plaque in the monument. And there you see the mission work starting to, the imprints, the expectations. As a child, I was very much influenced by the early Mormon hymns, and I do have a copy of the hymn book we used when I was a very, very young child. And it has some beautiful old hymns, some of the hymns written by very, very gifted people.
How did you hear them?
Well, we would just sing them over there in Sunday school on the town site.
With an accompanying instrument of any kind?
Sometimes there was a piano. We had a piano up there, but it was always out of tune. My brother Lyman, just older than myself, was one of the tuners, and he didn't know how to tune a piano. Nobody ever knew how to tune a piano. And it had the most marvelous out-of-tune sound imaginable. And so I remember the Mormon hymns. I remember a lot of the Mexican songs, particularly well, and I remember folk songs that the kids used to sing that they had learned, and I remember songs that people had composed on the spot. And these early hymns were an influence. The early Mexican music was an influence. The early Mexican music was particularly a rich influence because it had a mixture of Spanish influence and indigenous influence, plus the Spanish influence may have been rich in Moorish influence and Gypsy influence.
In terms of intonation as well, and tuning?
The interesting thing is that there to this day, people, if they just sing or whistle without any accompaniment, will sing or whistle something that is off the keyboard. Absolutely off the, it has almost nothing to do with the scale that we play on the piano or the guitar or especially the digitally equalized piano or synthesizer where the piano is placed in. Well, even Stravinsky objected to that tuning. Stravinsky, as you know, started doing compositions. He had a very helpful young man helping him, and one day the guy decided, not to change the subject, but an example of how even good musicians hate that tuning. One of his assistants decided to tune the piano and got out the wrench, and Stravinsky fairly screamed at him, "Put that down, don't you change a note." He wanted his sounds where they were supposed to be. Anyway, it was always out of tune, thank heavens.
I recall you telling me that you used to make flutes at that time when you were a kid.